Hi, everybody.
Hello.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Arielle. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mama Soul. It's a 100% mineral sun care brand that I developed when I was 5 months pregnant with my first son because I could not find a sunscreen that I loved using. Part of the reason why we're creating this expert series is because a part of Mama Soul is all about bringing wellness to anyone who follows us and our journey. So every single month, I have a different expert. They were Instagram lives, and now we're transitioning it to Zoom because I feel like it's so much more intimate, engagement so much better. And we're not, this just means that you have to follow us. You really have to be committed to Mama Soul and following us to have access to these special experts because they're devoting a good amount of their time and they're so special. I'm so excited to have you, Jessica. For those of you who don't know Jessica, she is an unbelievable intuitive and a psychic. I really do believe she's like changed the course of my life in the most amazing way. And I so much so that I want to hire her on retainer. Um, but with that being said, we want to dive in to how to connect to your spirit guides because spirit guides for me has been so powerful and such an amazing change in my life. Journaling and just trying to listen to my intuition more. But I think a lot of us don't understand how to decipher the difference between what is your intuition and what is your actual spirit guide telling you. So we're here to dive in. I have questions for Jessica. So I'm going to start asking them. And then I wrote all of everybody's questions down. So for those who ask specific questions about your own life, that's not what we're here for today. Today is more about like general questions about connections with spirit guides and questions like that. But the good news is that anyone who doesn't get the reading today, you get Arielle 10 gets you 10% off of any reading that you guys get. So Jessica she's booked through December, but if you want an emergency reading with her, she can accommodate. So let's dive in. So Jessica, my first question for you is how did you first realize that you had the ability to connect with spirit guides, and what was that defining moment for you?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Have loved working with you, Arielle. So it's so exciting to be here with you guys. And so this is such a great question because I think that everybody thinks that it's like this gift that like certain people are born with, and like you have to be one of the chosen ones or something. And it's not true. We all have intuitive abilities. We're all born with intuitive abilities. And for me, this was actually something I sought after to develop once I understood that this is something anybody and everybody has access to. So I very intentionally worked on developing my intuitive abilities until I got to a place where I was channeling and had everything come through. So there was one big moment for sure where after I had been working on it for a few months that it actually worked. But it did take some time. And so I do want to like start there by saying like, I'm not special. I'm not different than you guys, right? This is just something that I worked on because I had a big question in my life and I just needed an answer. I wanted to know, I was a teacher and I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And I didn't know what else I was supposed to do. And so I was like, if I could just connect with my spirit guides, they could tell me what I'm supposed to do. And so I really intentionally, I listened to podcasts, I read books, I sought out mentors and started to meditate and practice and develop my intuitive abilities. And the one big aha moment, I guess there were two. One was that I took my husband to go and see like a Reiki healer, like an energy healer. She never claimed to be an intuitive, but she was. She just did it kind of under the radar. And so when she was working on my husband, I was in the room. She started calling in all of these beings. She called in Archangel so and this angel and this and that. And as she's calling them in, I was just sitting there on the floor, like watching this, and I start seeing them come into the room. And I was like, oh my God, I see these beings like coming in as she's calling them in. And so when she was done working on my husband, I went up to her and I said, that thing that you called in, does he look like this? And that woman that you called in, does she look like that? And she's like, yeah. Like I saw everything. And so that was a big like, oh my God, I want to do more of this. And I then asked her to teach me and mentor me. And so that was a big aha moment for me, for sure.
Jessica, just so everybody knows, Jessica offers this service now. She offers services where she can teach you how to connect with your spirit guides if this is the path that you want to go on as well.
Yes, yes, we have a mini course. I have a little course and a group program and also private coaching if that's something that you're after. We definitely work on this, and it's really fun to see people transform their lives and do this for a living.
So, Jessica, can you share a personal experience where a spirit guide like actually changed your life, like shared a message with you that actually changed the course of your life? And I know that the getting sick and that led you to that path. But was there any other specific or defining moment that really like changed the course? And that was clearly your spirit guides talking to you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, this is like kind of funny, and I almost like hate to admit it. When my spirit guide is trying to talk to me and I'm not listening. So like there are some times where I try as often as I can to connect with my spirit guides and listen to what they're saying. And there are some times where I get in my own way and I don't listen, right? And I like come up with all of the reasons why I shouldn't do the thing they're telling me to do, right? We all kind of get tripped up in our head. My spirit guide will literally knock me on the head. If I don't listen, I end up with a concussion every time I don't listen to my guides. I've now had 3 concussions in my adult life because I wasn't listening to my spirit guides. And every time that has happened, I've had to reevaluate everything. And so this happened the very first time was when I was a teacher and knew that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And I got into a car accident that led to a concussion. And I had to have this big, like, oh my goodness, I can't be a teacher anymore. I didn't realize how miserable I was until I got that time off of work and decided need to reevaluate. The second time was I was already doing this business and I was working way too hard. I was seeing like 5 clients a day. I love channeling, but I learned after that that I should only be seeing 1 person a day because it actually, in some cases, it can be a little bit draining. So I was seeing 5 clients a day and just so miserable. So one night I was sleeping, and I'm so embarrassed to say this, I fell out of bed. I fell out of bed and knocked my head on the wall and my nightstand on the way down and ended up with my very second concussion. And so then I connected to my spirit guides and went, okay, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what's going on? And they were like, Jessica, you are working way too hard. And they suddenly gave me this new business plan of like how I should be working in my business, how I should be showing up, the self-worth things that I was telling myself that needed to be shifted. And that changed everything for me. Once I did that and I stopped grinding and I started listening to the very specific steps that they were giving me, my business grew exponentially with like a quarter of the effort. So that was a big one for me.
That's that's awesome. We all hope that we can experience something similar because I myself haven't had, I mean, I would say that I've had definitely defining moments where I felt like my spirit guides were like, you must do this. But I think for those of us who have never like dove into this before, can you tell us what's the first step that somebody should take if this is the first time that they're attempting to connect with their spirit guides?
Yeah, yeah. So your spirit guides are always with you. So you need to know that they're always around you, they're always listening, they're always trying to communicate with you. And so if you're wanting to start to communicate with them, they're very eager to work with you to do that. And the first thing you have to do is make the first move, take the first step, and actually speak to your spirit guides out loud. And so, as much as I'd like to say that we think that these spiritual beings can read our minds, they can't actually read our minds in the same way that we think. Of course, over time, as you develop your intuitive ability, there's something to be said about telepathic communication. But at first, no, you actually need to have a conversation with them. So if you're wanting to connect with your guides, the very first thing you have to do is out loud call them in. Spirits of the light, spirit guides, are you here with me? I invite you into the room. Come and join me. Come and share with me what you have to say, right? So start with that. Start by calling them in and telling them that you want to work with them. Then the next thing I would say that you should really do is ask them to reactivate and strengthen your intuitive abilities. So I want you to think about sort of the way in which you would really like to be able to communicate with them. Do you want to see messages? Do you want to hear their voices? Do you want them to send you signs? Do you want to feel tingles down your spine? Which is the way that you feel you're going to most align align with in terms of receiving messages. For me, I found that I'm a really visual person. I wanted to see them. I really wanted to see. And I found, and there's something to be said about knowing sort of which is your strongest intuitive ability. There's different clairs, different senses. So if I'm predominantly a visual person, I'm likely going to want to communicate with them in a visual way, then I would ask them to reactivate and strengthen my seeing gifts, right? If I'm more of an auditory learner, I need to hear things to understand it, then I'm going to ask to hear them. Please reactivate and strengthen my hearing gifts. And then you want to go ahead and sort of ask them a question, right? Tell me, what do I do about this decision I'm trying to make? And really kind of, you have to get out of your head and into your body and really see like how that comes through. And there are a couple of, we're going to talk a little bit more about exercises they can do, right, Arielle? Or should I just drop those in?
That's the next thing. So if you want to go in, the next thing was going to be,
Okay.
what are some tangible exercises that our audience can take to connect with their spirit guides? Because we're going to be sharing this obviously for those who signed up and couldn't make it too.
Yeah. So there's two really amazing, I call these like my beginner exercises, right? These are the ones that everybody can do. And so getting physical sensations from your spirit guide, I call kind of like the lowest hanging fruit, because I'm sure that everybody can say that at some point in your life, you've probably felt goosebumps or shivers down your spine or a gut feeling, right? Butterflies in your tummy, something that's in your body that's told you to lean towards something or move away from it. Right. And so this is where you can actually use this as a means of receiving an answer from your guides. So this is called the yes or no exercise. So again, you're going to have to start by doing whatever it is you need to do to get out of your head and into your body, right? You need to get away from the chattery thoughts that is your anxious mind, right? So that might look like taking a few deep breaths. That might look like doing a little guided meditation. That might look like going for a walk. It might look like keeping your hands busy and folding laundry or doing the dishes so your mind can wander, right? It can be a couple of things to get out of your head and into your body. And then from there, again, you're going to call your spirit guides in. Spirits of the light, are you here with me? Come and join me in this moment. And then you're going to ask them to show you what yes feels like in your body. If you were to ask a yes or no question, what would yes feel like? And then again, take your hands off, surrender for a moment, and see, what does yes feel like for you? What does yes feel like? For some people, that can feel like tingling in their third eye, right? Some people, again, it feels like chills or goosebumps, right? Maybe it feels like a heart opening or leaning forward, right? What does my body do when the answer for the question I have is yes? Right? Then if you feel that sensation, you'll say, thank you, I feel you. And then you're going to do the same thing for no. Show me what no feels like in my body. And that's going to be something different, likely, right? So it could be that, maybe it feels like my shoulders curl up, or it feels like butterflies in my stomach, or a tightening in my chest, right? Maybe it's tingling in another spot. Or, and this is important to note, a no can also be the yes sensation going away. Right? So if you were feeling tingling in your forehead when you asked for yes, and then you say, show me no, and the only thing you notice is that the yes sensation disappears, that's your no. Your no could be nothing. Right?
Jessica, what if you don't feel anything when you ask either of them?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't, I have two answers for this. One is ask again. Right.
Okay.
And it could be that you're too in your head, you're gripping onto it. You have an expectation of what you think that sensation should be. So you're looking for it a little too hard, right? That means you need to take a step back, maybe do a little meditation, maybe do a couple jumping jacks, like get out of your head a little bit. You're probably gripping a little too tightly if that happens. The other reason could be that it just might be that clairsentience, which is getting physical sensations from your guides, is just doesn't come naturally to you, in which case then you may be stronger in something like claircognizance and you just have an inner knowing, right? And so if you feel nothing for both of them, you're going to go ahead and ask the question anyways, because suddenly you might just know the answer. You don't know how you know it, but suddenly you just know, and you've gotten quiet enough to hear the answer anyway. So if you get no sensation, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. And then you go ahead and ask a yes or no question and see, does the yes sensation come or does the no sensation come? And the other thing that I will say is that you have to be careful when you're beginning what type of question you're asking. If you have a question where you're so attached to the outcome, you're not going to be open to hearing the answer that needs to come through. You know what you want the answer to be, so you're not willing to listen to the other. So you're going to want to start with a question that's a little bit more neutral. Something like, what should I have for dinner tonight? Right? Or should I have pizza for dinner tonight? Yes or no? Right?
No, the answer is no.
Right. And see how your body reacts to that, or how it sends a message that way. Or you can ask something that you have no attachment to whatsoever. Ask a question for somebody else. Should my sister go to that party tonight? Right? Means nothing to you. And so you'll much more easily feel the yes or the no, the lean back or the lean forward or whatever it is. And then you can start, as you get used to those sensations, you get used to asking it, then you can start to ask more specific questions that mean a little bit more to you as you get used to looking for that feeling.
That's
So
really cool.
yeah, that's exercise number 1. I got one more for you guys. This one is called automatic writing. Now, this is for the claircognizance of the room. So claircognizance means you have an inner knowing. You don't know how you know things, but you just know. If this feeling sensation didn't work for you, chances are you're claircognizant. This exercise is going to work for you. Now, claircognizance is, automatic writing is essentially free writing or journaling in a stream of consciousness format. So what you're going to do is the same thing that you would do with the other exercise. You need to do something to get out of your head and into your body. Meditation, body scan, breath work, whatever you got to do, right? Then you're going to write a question that you have at the top of a blank page. Now, this question doesn't have to be a yes or no question. In fact, it should be something that maybe you need more detail on, right? And so you'll go ahead and write that question out. And then you're going to ask spirit to channel through you as you write. So call your spirit guides in. I'm calling upon my spirit guides, spirits of the light. Are you here with me? Please channel through me as I write. And then just start writing. Stream of consciousness, whatever comes to mind. I don't know what to do about this problem. I don't know what I think. I'm not sure, blah, 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 blah. And eventually, the metaphor is sort of, if you think about turning on a dirty faucet, right? At first, it's going to be your own gunky thoughts, right? The ugly, yucky water is going to come out, but eventually it will run clear, right? Eventually, your guide will take over and you will notice suddenly the writing will change. It will feel like suddenly you're writing faster. It'll feel like maybe the perspective changes. So maybe at first you're saying, I don't know what to do, and suddenly it switches to, you need to do this. You'll sometimes find that it's writing so fast you can't even read what they're saying, right? It's like the pen wants to jump out of your hand. You might notice that the wording changes. These aren't words that you would typically use for yourself. It feels like someone's talking to you. This is your guide channeling through you, talking to you on the page. And when you feel sort of the stream run out, right, it feels like suddenly it just stops. That was your guide. They answered the question. Then you can say thank you. And if you need more clarity, write a new question and keep going.
This actually really has worked for me more so than the asking the yes or no questions. The automatic writing has been really powerful for me when I have the time to actually sit down and do it, which I need to do more. I have noticed that my hand just starts writing. And after I read it, I'm like, I knew it's like they're your own thoughts, but it's like much clearer, I would say. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And in my experience, for sure, it's like my guide suddenly switched to, you need to do this. And it gets really direct.
Yeah.
So that's always fun.
That's great. Can you, and I don't know if you've already answered this, but what would you say is the difference? Like how can somebody decipher the difference between intuition and your spirit guides?
That's a great question. I would say your intuition is your means of connecting to your spirit guides. So I would say they're technically one and the same.
Okay.
You use your intuition to hear your spirit guides, if that makes sense.
A really good answer, actually. I don't think anyone's ever said it like that to me, because although you know that, I'm always like questioning, like, is that just me telling myself that, or is that actually spirit? So that's really helpful.
And trust that spirit's always with you, right? They don't leave and take a coffee break, right? Like they're there, right? So if you're feeling like, I intuited this, that's because your guide was sending energy through you.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm just curious, how do you prepare when you're channeling someone, Jessica? How do you prepare? Like, is there a ritual that you follow, like, before you get into a reading? I know, just so you guys know, Jessica does one reading a day because it completely takes the life out of her. She gets drained from it. And that's because you're bringing in another energy into your body. So I'm just curious, what do you do before you're channeling somebody?
Yeah. So I don't want to scare anyone and say it completely takes the life out of me, but it does make me very hungry and tired.
Okay. That would take the life out of me. So I'm sorry.
So I do want to say before I had kids, the ritual was much more intricate than it is now because time is of the essence with two little babies at home. But I do take some time to sort of, again, do what I need to do to kind of get out of my head and into my body, right? And a lot of the times I'll actually do that online with you in front of me. We'll do some deep breaths together. We will do a guided visualization meditation. I will light some Palo Santos to call the spirits in. I used to do some other things to kind of help. And I do want to offer this as information for you guys as you're trying to connect with your own guides. It's really important to create these cues for your brain to let it know it's time to relax. It's time to get quiet. It's time to drop in. And so you want to use all of your senses as ways to kind of cue that up for you. So whether that's I go to a specific space and this is where I go that my body relaxes because I know that when I'm in this space, that's where I channel my guides. So for me, that's this office, right? I can't channel my guides anywhere else in my house because it's too cluttered, right? My mind is cluttered. There's too many things I need to do, people around, right? That kind of a thing. So safe space. For some people, it's really nice to signal, like we're calling in the guides by lighting a candle or turning on a specific light, right? This is the signal, right? And it signals to my mind too, time to drop in. Scent is one of the best ways to cue you up for this. So I will light Palo Santos because they say that this is a very holy kind of wood and it can call in the spirits, but other people use essential oils, right? And it's the scent, and your scent is the one sense that is directly connected to your limbic system. So it can actually trigger feelings of calm. And so if you associate one particular scent or fragrance with relaxation, then use that to your advantage. Every time I smell this particular essential oil, it cues my body to relax, right? And then I know I can drop in, right? So for me, that's Palo Santos. Also, frankincense is really good. Vetiver, like grounding, lavender, those kinds of scents are really good. So I used to do all of those things. Now it's a little bit more like I hop on with the client, light the Palo Santos, and we meditate because it's like 2 seconds before my husband walks in the door, grabs the baby, and I'm in here. But before it was a little bit more of a ritual.
Yeah. No, I like that idea of even before we connect with our own spirit guides to do some type of ritual like that. I think that's a really good reminder to like light a candle and have that visual of the light before you're bringing that in that, white light into your visual space. You actually have a visual of it. That's something I'm going to try like that.
Yeah. And then to end the session, blow the candle out as like, okay, thank you, spirit, and they can leave, right?
Love that. I love that. If you're channeling for someone for the first time, what can somebody here expect from you when they're receiving guidance from their spirit guides?
Yeah. So I always love when we do a first session because people always come in with so many questions, right? They have the reason that they're here to connect with their guides, and their spirit guide always has another agenda. So usually when I'm channeling for you for the first time, typically your main spirit guide will come in, the one who's with you from the beginning all the way to the end. They're with you at every hour of the day. And this spirit guide is generally concerned with your overall health and well-being, your present moment. And so they're going to start usually by telling you all of the things that you need to know to optimize how you're feeling in the present moment so that you can show up as the most aligned, highest version of yourself. And so this might look like self-care rituals that are going to best suit you. This might look like some wellness tips that they're saying, like they'll do a body scan for me and show you like, oh, you know what, you're a little bit low in iron, or you need to up the hydration, right? You need more water or more electrolytes, right? So they'll give me some of that stuff. They'll also what's kind of going on in your aura, right? They'll say like, your energy field is really bogged down. You need to do some cleansing rituals to release yourself of the energy from the people you've been around today, right? They'll give you all of these things and rituals, that easy, simple things that you can apply to your everyday life so that you are feeling your most aligned self in your day-to-day life. And then from there, so that's sort of like the word vomit that your guide will give you when you first log in, right? When we first tune into them, they're like, here's all the things you need to know about what's going on for you right now. This is the lesson.
I can attest to that, Jessica, because when I had a reading with Jessica, I've had 4 readings with her so far, but one of the ones she said to me was, you need to either take a bath, go on a walk without your cell phone, or take a nap. She's like, you're burning out. And that was so helpful. And I really did incorporate that. And it really did feel like it changed my whole energy space because I was taking time. So I think these messages, although you may know them like yourself, like I probably knew I needed to take a nap, or something, but hearing that, it really propels you to make a change. And I couldn't recommend, making this connection more.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And it's right. Like it's usually the thing you knew you needed to do, but you were ignoring your self-care in some way. And so having it be repeated to you is exactly what you usually need in that moment. So yeah, that's usually what will come first. And then it's sort of up to the client as to what questions you want to ask, right? So a lot of people come to me with, what's my purpose in this life, right? Mm-hmm. And then your spirit guide will kind of show me a past life of yours, and they kind of go, you have some unfinished business from that life, and that's determining what's going on in this life. I'm so sorry. Here comes a screaming baby. Little hungry, sorry. Okay. But yeah, and so then they'll kind of share that with you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Just winging it. We're all women here.
Yeah,
yeah, and so we can do that. Or sometimes people have very specific questions. They're like, I need help with this particular meeting I have in my business, or I'm trying to get investors for this. Like, what do I do? And the guides will give you like the very specific things that you need to do. They're always going to give you your next right step. Yeah.
How can we strengthen our intuition in everyday life when we're busy or stressed? Because for me, I'm, for those of you who don't know me, I have a startup. I'm trying to transition out of my full-time job. I'm a busy mom of two. And it's really, really hard to take that time to do that. But I know how important it is. So like, what are some tips that you can give us all? Because all of us women here that I know are super busy as well. And they love to hear that.
Yeah, I know. It's like the age-old question for the mom, right? Like, how do you ever have a minute to yourself? Yeah. And so there's a couple of things, and I will say that your spirit guides are always talking to you and sharing signs and symbols and messages with you throughout the day. The question is, are you aware and are you looking for them? Yeah. And so if you don't have time to step aside and take a minute to meditate and call in your guides and do a whole channeling session, which arguably many of us don't, then the one thing you can do is just kind of put it out there. Talk to your spirit guides like you're having a conversation. Just say it out loud. Spirit guides, what do I do about this? Show me what it is. Like, show me and give me the clarity. And then just be open to the signs and symbols and messages that come through for you in the day. Are there suddenly like the conversation you have with the random person on the bus? Like, does that happen to be like extremely relevant to what your question was? Or does it pop up on like an ad on your Instagram when you're scrolling mindlessly, right? Is there a symbol that comes through? Does someone give you a gift that kind of makes a lot of sense based on what you're saying? All of those things are interconnected. They are nothing is by chance. Right? It's all coming through for a reason. And I'll give you an example. This one just happened to me. My husband and I, we were having, and this is a silly one, but we were trying to figure out where do we want to go on vacation over the winter. We wanted to do a little family vacation and we couldn't figure out where the heck to go. And we had a couple of options. We were like, do we go here or do we go here? And then late, and I was like, I'll just put it to the spirit guides. They'll tell us where we're supposed to go. And so spirit guides, let me know, send me a sign, send me a symbol. Are we supposed to go here or here when we go on vacation this in January? And later that day, I took my kids to the playground and I started chatting up with this other mom who had never seen there before. And I noticed she had an accent. I said, oh, where are you from? She said, oh, I'm from this place. And I went, oh my God.
Well, now you tell us where.
That was one of the two options. It was either we were thinking Mexico or Costa Rica, and she was from Costa Rica.
Oh yeah. Love it.
And she was like, yeah, I'm from Costa Rica. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what are the chances in the middle of like nowhere? I mean, we live in the countryside. We live in the middle of nowhere, right? What are the chances I run into a woman from Costa Rica at the playground, right?
I'll give you a good example that just happened to me. And this might be relevant for some people, but I was scrolling on my Instagram. And for those of you who don't know, we're about to start our first round of seed funding. And I really need to meet more investors. And I was scrolling and I found, it said Female Founders Collective Beauty Cohort. It's their first ever beauty cohort. Rebecca Minkoff is the co-founder of this organization. And I see this and I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is, because they talk all about connecting you with investors. And I'm like, and this just happened to, the orientation for it was literally right before this call. And I'm like, oh my God, the timing, because we're literally just finished our deck. And I think that is a very clear sign that was put in my path. I just had to share that because it was pretty wild.
Yeah. So look out for those things, right? Your guides are always talking to you.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was, what are some common signs that our spirit guides are trying to communicate with us, but we might overlook?
Yeah. Pay attention to conversations that you have with people, right? You think that you're giving advice to somebody else, like a good friend, and really it's like exactly what you needed to hear, right? So pay attention to those. Even in like silly things like in the TV show you're watching or the song you're listening to, like pay attention to those things. The random song that pops up on the radio might not have been so random. So pay attention to some of those things. And then, there are other kind of things we could talk about, like signs or symbols, like what animals are crossing your path, right? What birds are showing up in the window, right? All of those things do actually have spiritual significance. And so, I don't often tell people to go and Google it, but this is the one thing that I can say you can Google. If a random animal crosses your path, go and Google it. There is a spiritual meaning behind it. Your guide is sending you a very specific message. Yeah, so that's always a fun one.
Like that. You give an example of how you have helped somebody become more aligned with their purpose or their path.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I don't want to say that it was me. Definitely want to say that I'm just the messenger, right? So definitely their guides, me just offering the message. But yeah, I want to, not to toot my own horn, but I want to argue almost every session I've had, right? As long as the person applied the messages that their guide gave them, it has changed their life in a big way. I can give a couple of examples, and the biggest ones that always stick with me are the ones where it's usually like the guide comes in and goes, "You need to quit your job."
Yeah.
They kind of go, you need to quit your job and you need to do something totally radically different, right? And the people who have listened to that and then started the thing that their guide told them to, it just takes off in a huge way. And that's really fun to see. So I can give the example of, there was one woman, she was a lawyer. And she was a very good lawyer, actually. And but she was just miserable in her job. And so her guides were like, you need to quit your job and you need to be a travel blogger. And they said, you and your husband are going to start traveling the world and you're going to start curating these like travel itineraries for people. And then you're going to take people on guided tours throughout these places, because the way she liked to travel, and she did a lot of traveling out when she was in her schooling days. They would go to like these very like unique places, not the things that were kind of common, but like the things where the locals only know about, right? That kind of a thing. And she started this whole traveling business, and it's done way better than she ever did as a lawyer, and she's so much happier. And her husband quit his job too to join her because it did so well. So like that was really nice to see.
That's really cool. I love that.
Can I just say
Yeah.
one thing? When you were talking about the animals, right as we were starting this, I messaged Shannon. I was like, "There's a cat that just came into my yard. This is so weird. I've never seen this cat ever."
Is it the Bengal looking one? The pretty one?
It's black and white.
Oh no, that's not. I have a different one in my yard.
I'm telling you, go Google. Like, what does it mean if a cat crosses my path?
Yeah, it said good. It said good fortune. I just.
Okay.
That's great.
Take it. And then I want to, my last question, because I'm going to ask some questions that everybody here had asked that are relevant to this. And then we're also going to announce the winner of the reading. And then we're also going to give a surprise giveaway as well. So what is the most powerful message you've ever received from Spirit Guide for yourself or for someone else that you can share with us that could maybe even apply to all of us?
Yeah. So there's one message that my spirit guides are constantly telling me that I'm never listening to. And it's also the same message that they tend to give to a lot of people. And this message is be present be here, be in this moment. And a lot of the times I get clients and they're really future tripping, right? Like all of their problems are about what if this happens? What if this happens? And I want to do this, and they're going towards their goals and they have their foot on the gas so strong and they're forgetting everything that's going on around them and they're so burnt out. And I am just as guilty. And the guides are always like, hold on a second, take your foot off the gas, like open the curtains, look outside, take a minute, take a breath, be here, because everything else will take care of itself when you're here in the present moment. So that's always the biggest one.
That's a really great thing to do with. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump in to some questions that everybody had. Okay. And maybe some of this has been answered, but I'm just going to read it off. And then if we've already answered it, we've already answered. How do I discern what's my mind and what the spirit world giving me answers? I practice regularly grounding and opening my third eye in meditation, but I also have a big, fantastic mind. So I don't know if I'm making things up.
Yeah, it's the biggest one, right? Is trusting. Is it me or is it channeled, right? So there's two things I want to say. Context is everything. If you called your guides in, so you did the ritual you need to do to get out of your head and into your body, you took a minute to get quiet and centered and grounded, and you called your guides in, and then those thoughts start coming through, chances are that's channeled, right? Because you called your guides and you invited them into the conversation, right? If you're just going about your day and you're running all your errands and you're kind of caught up in your brain, no, I would say that that's probably not, right? The other distinction I'll give you is think about the tone of the messages or the thoughts that are coming through. When we think about our brain or our own thoughts, they tend to be at the front of our head, quite literally. They're in our brain. Think of like a ticker tape on the news, one thought after the other after the other. They're very quick, they're very chattery. Sometimes they're quite anxious, right? When it's coming from our guides, it feels like it's coming from the back of our head or behind our ears, and it feels very centered, very grounded. Sometimes it's only like one word or a very succinct sentence, and it's like, did I think that? And then it's like gone, right? It disappears. So there's a difference in tone as well. If it's chattery and fast and anxious, that's you, right? If it's grounded, it's centered, and it's almost like one word and then it's gone, that's your guides.
I like that a lot. Okay.
Mhm.
Then the next one is somebody asked, what are the reasons to use your services and how have you studied to do this?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So the reason I guess is if you're stuck, right? If you're trying to find your path and your purpose, you're at a crossroads in your life, you need to make a big decision in some way. You just can't get out of your own way and get away from the shoulds, right? All of the things you think you should do. You're trying to pros and cons list your way into a decision, but you really just need what's best for me. I would say that's the best reason to connect with your guides is the only purpose of your spirit guide is to make sure that you're aligned, that you are stepping into your highest self. You're becoming the truest, most aligned version of yourself. So if you feel like you're straying from that in some way, but can't figure out how to find your way back, then that's when you need to connect with your guides. That's definitely when you might want to come see me if you're doubting which is the right path for you, and what feels most aligned for you. And then training, that's a great question. So this is I do want to underline that we are all intuitive, right? And so this is something we're all born with, right? It's not something that we have to pay and take a course in order to develop. It's more rather a remembering, I would say. To be clear though, I did work on this as a skill, and a lot of it came through. I did have a mentor that I worked with. I also, read a lot of books and, listened to a lot of podcasts and guided meditations on Insight Timer, all that kind of help you and say like how to connect to your guides or meditation to help you connect with your guides, until one day it just sort of clicked. And then it was a matter of practicing on people. And the more I practiced and the more I received confirmation that what I was hearing, seeing, and feeling in my mind was resonating with them and made a lot of sense for them, then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay. Next question is, this is a specific question, but I think this could help everybody in here. How can I emotionally be available for my children when I feel unable to give anymore?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the best question is, how can you take care of yourself first? Fill your own cup up first.
Yeah.
Guides will always say, you can't be pouring from an empty cup, and most people are. Most people are trying to pour from an empty cup. So if you have nothing left, pay attention to that. Do you need to fill yourself back up in some way? And this can look as simple as like, I need to lock myself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and just breathe, right? And like, even if the kids are banging on the other side of the door. Yeah. And guides will often give sort of specific things that are going to work for you. For some people, it's like, you know what? You're just cold all the time. Your body's working so hard to warm you up. Drink some tea, right? Throughout the day. So you're filling yourself back up, or you're craving sunshine. You haven't been outside in 2 weeks. Like, go stand outside for a few minutes, take a few deep breaths, right?
I want to bring this, Jessica, if it's okay, I want to bring this back to Mama Soul just for a minute, because you said something that really resonated with our brand's mission, which is giving the woman or the mom like the self-care. And so for those of you who don't know, our brand is all about doing that. It's about it. The formula smell like a subtle hint of lavender essential oil. We're 100% mineral sun care brand, but it's luxury. It's giving you a moment to take a deep breath and to really encourage wellness in the morning when you're starting your day. So whether you get your wellness from drinking a cup of tea, or just, you know, putting some really luxurious skincare on in the morning and taking a deep breath, or doing yoga, I just wanted to remind you all that it's as simple as taking a deep breath and feeling and touching your skin in the morning too.
Yeah. I know. I have it like right here. I'm like, Mama Soul. It smells amazing, guys. Like, I'm telling you, like, you don't need to invest in lavender essential oil. This smells better. Like, it's so good.
Just so you guys know, we have a face sunscreen, a body sunscreen, and our lip oils. We can talk more about it, but somebody not only will win something from Jessica, you also get something from us too. So I'm gonna have this little bowl of names, and we'll pick. But okay, let me just finish. So let me see. We already answered that. We already answered that. Okay. Can you talk about negative intrusive thoughts versus intuitive downloads? And that will be the last one before we hop into the winner.
So this is where you want to pay attention to your body and how your body is reacting to the thought, right? And first of all, your guide is never going to give you something that feels negative. It's always going to feel like a breath of fresh air. It's going to feel like the way you feel when you step into a hot tub. You just like all your muscles relax. That's always an intuitive download. Or it might be, it lights you up and you feel energized, right? An intrusive negative thought makes your body close off, right? You feel yourself curling in on itself. You feel those butterflies, or you feel kind of like you go, right? You kind of go like this, you go inward, you tighten up. That's an intrusive negative thought. So that's never your guide. Your guide is never going to give you something that feels like an insult, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So guys, somebody's going to win a 30-minute reading, but somebody is also going to get the chance to ask Jessica one question. You're going to email her your question and she's going to answer it for you. So she is amazing for doing that. Thank you. Because I know that itself takes energy out of you too. Okay. All right. I'm picking out of a bowl. I just want you all to see. These are all the things, and I'm just going to pick it out. Okay. All right. So the winner of Shannon.
I have so many questions.
There we go.
So Shannon, you're gonna get, and then I'm gonna pick for the
Mommy,
next person. The person who gets to ask a question is Katie.
Who?
Katie.
Woo!
Katie.
Okay.
Oh, you get to send me an email and I will send you a voice note back with all of your answers.
Okay.
There's
Great.
still another
Right.
winner is gonna get to pick anything you want from the Mama Soul line. And then remember, everybody gets 10% off of a reading, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Jessica F., you're gonna win Mama Soul.
Woohoo.
Are you there?
Silent. She's on mute over there, but she's there.
So Jessica F., you're gonna get to pick, you can have our face, our body, or our lip sunscreen. I'm just writing your name down. I'm sorry for those who didn't win. I know that everybody wanted that reading or question to be asked, but again,
Use the code Arielle10 and you'll get 10% off your reading. So
yeah, 'cause you guys, Jessica's freaking amazing and I can't recommend her enough. And in all honesty, 30 minutes, although it's amazing, Shannon, you need 90
I know.
in my opinion. So, sign up for that reading. And before we hop off, is there anything anyone didn't get, like, because this is an open forum for the end. We have a couple minutes. I know Jessica has like just 5 more minutes or so.
Yeah.
Katie, hi.
You won.
I just want to ask, does anyone have a question that you want to ask Jessica that's not for yourself per se, but it's just a question that we didn't answer? Oh, wow. We must have done a good job.
Yeah.
We covered all the bases. Hi, Jessica. So I have, are you, I have, and then I will, as a thank you to everybody, I'm going to email everybody a discount code for Mama Soul if you want to get Mama Soul as well. But it just won't be free. Sorry. But we're going to give you a 15% off code. And the biggest code we have right now is 10% off. So you're getting 15% off of anything you want in the line. I'll email that to you guys. And then Jessica, and I'll email you the Arielle 10 to book with Jessica. And we'll also send you guys the recording if you want to listen back to it. I hope everyone had a great time listening. We're so excited to have you guys. And just to leave you guys with something, the next one we're having is going to be it's going to be on, I think, November 14th at 10 a.m. We'll be sending reminders, but it's going to be a hormonal and regenerative medicine doctor. And she's going to be talking about perimenopause and just hormonal balance and mental health that it relates to your hormones. And it's something that I didn't ever pay attention to until I was just introduced to it. And I had no idea how many of us are imbalanced with our hormones and how much it affects us. So I'd love for you guys to tune into that too. December, we're having, just to give you a little preview, December, we're having a dermatologist on. He's going to be debunking all the sun care myths. And one I'm really excited about, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing in January yet because it's not confirmed, but February, we're having a pet psychic on, and she's going to be able to communicate with pets, and somebody will win something there too. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what is in store for what we have coming up. It's a bit of woo mixed with wellness, mixed with mental health wellness and nutrition and all of those types of things. So we really hope that you follow us. And in order to get all this, you all have to be following Shop Mama Soul and Jessica on her page. Jessica, you want to tell us, everybody, your Instagram?
Yeah, you can follow me over at I am Jessica Rachel on Instagram. And then I also have a podcast if you want more information. It's called Intuition Activation. You can find us on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts.
And what I will say about her podcast, which is I really look forward to, is she gives like a whole monthly download on what the whole month looks like and what, like, for the whole collective. And I really enjoy that, listening to
energy. I give a monthly energy forecast. I actually just recorded the one for November, guys. It is insane. Definitely go check it out. The one it's coming on Friday. So yeah, go listen. I was like shocked. It's going to be a big one.
Can't wait. We just know, when are you putting that out? November 1st?
Yeah, it's coming out on Friday on the 1st. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll email all you guys, all the handles and the podcast and everything. And we can't wait. I hope you guys follow along for the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.